Welcome back to the Flyers Nitty Gritty podcast, doing a short special here with a special guest, Paul Matheson. Paul Matheson is the head of skating, right? Skating development for the Barrie Colts. Really excited to have you, Paul. Thank you. Welcome to the Flyers Nitty Gritty.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you taking the time. So, to anybody listening, this is kind of a response a little bit, but the Philadelphia Flyers have just recently drafted first-round pick Tyson Foerster, a deadly scorer that the city of Philadelphia is very excited about. And along my journey, I kind of was doing my research after the Flyers made their pick, stumbled upon Paul's post here. And Paul, and just going off this post, I can tell you really care about Tyson, right? I noticed you kind of took extra step there, and I stumbled upon this really nice post that you made. So I want to pick your brain. First, though, I want to start with you. What motivates you as a coach? How'd you get started into skater development? I think you've been doing this about 25 years so far, right, professionally?
Yeah, it's been kind of a long, winding road. I started my history is actually as a competitive figure skater way back. I played hockey and figure skated as a kid, and ended up pursuing competitive figure skating and was a national level competitor, and then moved on from that into coaching, and for the first number of years was primarily just figure skating coaching, but was getting, I still played hockey myself and was on the ice a lot, playing, and then was getting a number of requests to start helping out kids with their hockey skating. And then it's kind of just snowballed from there over the last, I'd say, 10 years or so, where I'm primarily just a hockey skating development coach now, and I own a skating school here in Barrie, Ontario, and we're kind of known for figure skating. We've had numerous Olympics competitors and national champions from all over the world, but we've kind of now branched out into also being able to produce high level hockey players and help them with their skating. So it's like I said, it's been an interesting road. I don't know if I saw myself being here a number of years ago, but I really like it. I like the way it's transitioned into this side of things.
That's actually really interesting to hear about, and not the first time I've heard the connection. But why do you think that there, kind of was that leap for you from figure skating to hockey? I mean, obviously it's skating, but there are different requirements, different thought process, right, in the type of movements that the body has to make. Why do you think you kind of made your way over into competitive hockey?
I think part of it is the combination. I was a player as a kid, not at a high competitive level, because I got to that point I had to choose one or the other, and for whatever reason chose to go the competitive figure skating route. And but the fact that I still play hockey and have played hockey forever, multiple times a week, still in men's leagues, it helps you translate your knowledge of skating from a figure skating side and all the basics and foundations that teaches you, and then be able to translate that to hockey. Because honestly, it's not as simple a translation as some people would think it is. There's a lot of differences to it, but if you can take that base and apply it for hockey, it's a huge asset to have all those skills sort of ingrained in you and knowledge to help the players out.
It's super interesting, and you kind of live in the dream there a little bit. You get a little bit of both worlds, right? You got like the figure skater and the hockey world in the end. So it sounds like maybe you made the right decision, the path that you took. Very cool. So let's get down to a little bit of the nitty gritty, as we like to say. Tyson Foerster. So I stumbled upon this post. I go on this thing called HF boards for hockey, and people are essentially nerd out on hockey there. And I'm looking up Tyson, and somebody posts your thread. Because again, the knock on Tyson is not his hands or his shooting, definitely not his shooting, or his offensive abilities. I mean, he had 80 points this year. He had an excellent season. Clearly was a huge contributor to any of the team's success, especially offensively. But the knock on him has been skating. Now, knocking skating, I don't mean, horrendous, but to keep him out of that, that first like upper echelon of like players who, maybe have a more seamless entry into the NHL. So Tyson, the knock on him is skating. So I saw your response and I was pretty moved by it, to be honest with you, because just the attention to detail that you went through and kind of tell his story. It was the perfect thing for somebody like myself who's kind of nerding out and saw that response. So can you tell me a little bit about what you went through with Tyson?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, the post is a little bit transparent, and I wanted the world to see that his skating is better than what it was. So much of a player like that gets a knock on his skating, and it's a hard thing for players to shake. And especially when the season ends in March and nobody gets to see, anything from that player other than video prior to March. So if he's got a knock on his skating, it's going to continue to be there because people are watching old videos. So my whole plan with this, and I did start to think about it as so many teams are calling me to talk about Tyson skating, was to, get his skating. And mostly what they were worried about in a lot of cases were it's just his stride, a straight line skating. And so we talked about it briefly and said, hey, if we can get this looking good, and it was coming along nicely, that, I said, I'll put it on my social media. I said, I know I got, enough people in the hockey world that follow it. It'll get out there, and, it should move the needle for you a little bit to show people that, hey, this is better. So much of these players is showing that they're not at their ceiling with something like skating. And for Tyson, he's nowhere near his ceiling with skating. He just, it's a work in progress. So I put that out there, and it was very well received. I did laugh at there was one post somebody put, it was what was it? The terminology was a hype video. They sort of called it a hype video, and I laughed. I go, I don't know if you can really take a technical skating analysis and call it a hype video.
Yeah.
It isn't that exciting. But I think it did serve its purpose, and a number of teams called me and they had seen the video, which is what I wanted. And, it's got its own limitations because obviously it's not a game situation, but honestly, a year ago, Tyson couldn't do that in a controlled environment either. So the fact that he's been able to take it and now, he can do it in a controlled environment is huge. And the technical part of things, a lot of the stuff, if anybody goes on my social media, I try to help out the hockey community with and give them some tips or knowledge that I have, because I do this all day, every day, and help them out. So they maybe, if they're coaches or kids following, that it might help them in some way too. So posts like that, I think if somebody goes on and looks at it, they could maybe pick up something that could help their own game, or coaches can help their kids.
That's awesome. And hype video, that's a funny terminology, but I thought it was rather effective, though. I mean, like I said, if you're thinking about more of a professional mindset, right, and you're not really trying to speak to fans, right? Like, you didn't make a post there, to try to flash his skills. You were trying to literally attack what you've been focusing on. And what is it that you believe that you've been focusing on that really has improved Tyson skating, or what he's focused on, or what do you think you've seen from him that you've seen that development? Because I mean, what we've heard publicly is that there was a large change. I mean, even Chuck Fletcher, GM of the Flyers, he said that specifically, that they saw the difference in skating, and that was a big deal for them.
So I started working with Tyson last summer. I think he came out with me for the first time in July of last year. So in 2019, and I'd seen Tyson as a minor hockey player because I do the AAA development here in Barrie, and he played his minor hockey here in Barrie. So I would have seen him in a team environment, but honestly, I don't remember him, just because it was a team environment and you see a bunch of players. And
sure.
So he came back out, and I'd seen him play and already had in my mind, what his deficiencies were and how I wanted to attack that. So it started then, his first day out, I said, we gotta quieten your upper body down, because he was a player that essentially was trying to create power with his shoulders, and it's highly inefficient because your skates are tied to your feet, and your upper body should be something that is there for balance and to help out your feet, not trying to take over from your feet. So a lot of what you see starts from the top down with him, is once we got the shoulders to quiet down and he starts to really just take advantage of his legs. Then we got him into a lower power position, and just efficiencies start to take over. So it looks better, which is a big part of the battle. And the stride that I showed there, it just functions better too. As I think I said in the tweet, there's still work to be done. It's not everything that he's capable of yet, but from where he was a year ago, it is way better. And from where he was in March, it is night and day better. So like I said, I wanted to showcase, because, as much as I can look at that and say, here's what we want to do, not every player is that receptive to making those changes because they're not comfortable. Sometimes it means that you're going to take a step or two back to then take 3 or 4 steps forward. Some players aren't willing to do that, 1 or 2 steps back. And Tyson he's a guy he's fine. He's like, okay, let's do this. Like, it's not going to feel good, but I know it's going to be better in the long run. So let's make it happen.
That's awesome. And it's definitely the right attitude there, no doubt. And if he were to even make that jump to the next level, which I think he's on his way, they're definitely going to ask him to do things that make him uncomfortable, without a doubt, as they would ask anybody. So what do you think that you've taught him of late that we could see on the ice? Like, do you think there's anything reflected that maybe we could see in his skating from before and after? Or maybe, do you expect him to get more speed in his entries, or maybe just pick up, quicker acceleration from, the stop point to go?
Right. Those are the 2 main ones. It's, a big concern with him was blue line to blue line speed, which again, a stride is very easily recognized as skating technique, I think is what it is. Okay. And again, the game's evolved and stride is being used less and less offensively. The elite players use so many more crossovers, but having said that, you still want to have a good stride for straight lines. And it still sticks out like a sore thumb if you don't have a decent looking stride that covers ice. So that's the one thing we've spent a lot of time on is that, because it was glaring. The other thing that is much better that it should show up even right now is his acceleration is much better. And the light bulb has kind of gone on with him on the ice. He knows when he has that jump, and he'll turn around and he'll say, he goes, that was fast, versus the times where it doesn't have that jump, which would be more of where he was, at times last season and prior to that. So it's just a matter of him kind of exploring those spaces and some of the techniques that we've talked about to help him get that jump. He's embracing them. It's just, like anything else, it's not just a switch you turn on and suddenly he's going to do it all the time. It's a gradual changing of habits that we're still working on, but it is definitely improving and noticeably.
That's awesome to hear, and I assume that's how you get his value to rise, right? You kind of hit those pain points. So a couple more questions here for you. My thought is, again, his biggest element that we see, at least from the fan base, right? Because we're kind of catching up now to Tyson's career. We see a really big shot there. In fact, quite frankly, I've seen some memory there of Alexander Ovechkin, even the way he kind of winds up from that similar location. Do you think the improvements in his skating can also help improve his shooting? Maybe even from a standstill position, maybe, on the move, accuracy, and maybe even power?
It's a good question. You know what? The kid can shoot. There's no question about that. The shot is not a question mark at all. I'm not so sure the improved skating helps his shot as much as it should help him get more shots off. It should help him to get to spaces. He's already a high IQ player. He understands where to go on the ice, find the soft spots, kind of get lost, and then be open and be able to get himself where he can get that shot off. Our hope is with the skating is, there's been some concern that he wouldn't be able to keep up to the play, again, blue line to blue line, and then lose some scoring opportunities because he's lagging behind a bit. And can he drive some play through the neutral zone himself would be a nice asset. So I don't know if it helps his shot, but I think it helps him get more shots. And for a player like that, I mean, shot volume is something that's desirable. So I'm hopeful that translates.
And I would assume, as a follow-up to that, would that potentially help his ability to play the middle if he had to play as center, right? Kind of getting back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It should help for all those scenarios. It's certainly not going to hurt. One of the things, and I know I talked with Philadelphia a little bit. They one of their scouts had a great conversation with me. Actually, he was a great guy to talk to because he bounced things off me too. So I learned a little bit from him, and he learned a little bit from me. But he wasn't concerned that much about where Tyson's skating is right now. It was more where it was going to go and how that was going to help him. Because with a lot of these players, it's, he's got a certain skill set that he's already good at. Adding some skating to that, however much it improves, it just helps that other skill set shine even more. So is he ever going to be known as a skater in the league? Maybe not. And, you might even go as far as to say probably not. But if his skating is just good enough, that it's not a detriment, the other stuff will carry him. So that's a conversation that Tyson and I have had a number of times to say, and just we don't need people to say your skating's great. We just need them to stop talking about it being not good. So if it can just be neutral, then success.
That's a fantastic answer. And I guarantee you that there are very successful players in the league that don't have a fantastic stride and are still successful players. We see it all the time. I mean, even a famous former Flyer, Mike Richards, people used to joke around that he would skate kind of like a men's league player, never looked that fluid on the ice, but always was just successful pretty much at every level.
Yeah.
So see that stuff all the time. So my last question to you, and this one's a little bit towards you. What do you kind of see? You know what? Let me ask it this way. Is there anybody in the NHL that you see as kind of maybe the epitome of great skating? I mean, we see a lot of them. Obviously, Connor McDavid, Dylan Larkin is another name that kind of jumps off my head. Anybody who sticks out to you as you kind of see as model your game? Maybe it's somebody we don't even expect.
For me as a coach, I mean, I use a lot of what Connor McDavid does, but understanding that that's not translatable to every player, but you can still take bits and pieces of what he does and help players, steal parts for him or for them. It's such a difficult question because every player is built differently, so they're not all going to be able to do anything close to what, like you said, a Larkin or a McDavid or Matt Barzal in New York, and the way those guys skate, and they're high tempo players, and that just isn't a reality. But we still talk about how they're successful with it and how it can take parts of what they do. So Nathan McKinnon's another one. The guy is a tremendous, overwhelmingly powerful skater. It would be nice to be built like Nathan McKinnon to skate like Nathan McKinnon. Not all guys are. So, but it doesn't mean you can't look at some of the techniques he uses with his crossovers and how he accomplishes things on the ice. And someone like a Tyson, those are players that we look at and say, hey, let's get a little bit of that in your game. So you expand your toolbox a little bit more and you have more answers for more situations when they come up on the ice.
That's an awesome answer. I love that answer. All right. I appreciate it, Paul. I think I took enough of your time here. One more time, Evolution Skating Development, that's your company. So just give you a little shout out there.
Thank you.
Super excited for Tyson Foerster to be here, and really happy that he decided to come on and give us a little glimpse there at what he's done. And I think it's really good that people know the work that he puts in. because people usually only see kind of like the sky rise to the top, and that's not really real, right? We all know that life is really just kind of an up and down cycle of learning, getting knocked back down, going right back up. And his career will be like that moving forward. So thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. I'm glad to help out, and hopefully we'll see Tyson playing for the Flyers in the somewhat near future whenever everything gets going again.
Yeah, that would be super exciting, and we're excited to have him. Thanks, Paul.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.